Hello and welcome to the channel. President Buhari finally departs for good today. Most will say good riddance, but having been here before, albeit as a military head of state, could Buhari's second coming as civilian president been to settle a long-held grudge? And has the scores been settled now finally in his mind? Let's get into possibly the mind of Nigeria's worst president. Subscribe, like, share, and comment. Thank you. Muhammadu Buhari on the tragedy of the long grudge. On December 31st, 1983, Sani Abacha, then an unknown brigadier in the Nigerian army, went on radio to announce the overthrow of the elected civilian administration of President Shehu Shagari, claiming that the military had done so in the discharge of our national role as promoters and protectors of our national interest because of the great economic predicament and uncertainty which an inept and corrupt leadership has imposed on our beloved nation. The following day, Nigerians learned that the new military regime was to be led by Muhammadu Buhari, a wiry major general with a reputation for asceticism, serving as the General Officer Commander, GOC, the 3rd Division of the Nigerian Army in Jos, commissioned into the Nigerian Army in January 1963, following training at the Mons Officer Cadet School in Aldershot, England. Buhari was not just the most senior among the officers involved in the coup, he was also the most experienced. His contemporary and would-be nemesis, Ibrahim Babangida, who emerged as the Chief of Army Staff, was commissioned 8 months later, in September 1963. When he became military head of state at the beginning of 1984, Buhari appointed Tunde Idiagbon as his second-in-command. Forceful and unsmiling, Idiagbon so became the public face of the era that it came to be called the Buhari-Idiagbon regime. He remains unique as the only Nigerian military ruler who did not promote himself to a 4-star general. As a government, the Buhari-Idiagbon regime knew what it stood against but could not say what it stood for. It arrived with indiscipline as a single-issue diagnosis for the Nigerian condition, but was unprepared to question or understand the causes of this symptom. Its prescription was a war against indiscipline, WAI. Everything radiated from this core. As part of WAI, the regime, through the Miscellaneous Offences Decree No. 20 of 1984, made drug trafficking punishable by death, backdating the sentence by 8 months. When they were arrested on suspicion of drug trafficking at the end of 1983, Bartholomew Owo, Bernard Ogedegbe, and Lawal Ujualakbe were 26, 29, and 30 years old respectively. They were subsequently arraigned for felonies, but Buhari retrospectively changed the crimes to capital offenses, triable by a tribunal chaired by a high court judge, the only civilian in a panel including 4 soldiers. In less than 5 minutes, on April 8, 1985, Buhari had all 3 men executed by firing squad, their remains poured into a hole at the Atan Cemetery in Lagos. The gratuitous savagery of the executions framed the regime in public imagination. Retired prematurely from military leadership, Buhari was headed into regimental detention in Benin, where he survived what he believes was an assassination attempt when his cell was machine-gunned, eventually emerging to seek a return to power as elected civilian president. In 3 unsuccessful attempts over 12 years, Buhari proved that he could be fierce in pursuit of power, tenacious when the object mattered to him, adaptable as an opponent, and single-minded when he needed to be. 3 things could be said about the Buhari who survived all these to be elected civilian president. First, when he eventually succeeded in 2015, these characteristics did not suddenly desert him. Rather, he ran for the presidency on a prospectus for whose delivery he did not have skills in his repertoire. The Buhari who promised change in 2015 was incapable of making it constructive. 30 years after being forced out of the military, he had not run a business, nor returned to school, nor authored a book, nor run a foundation, nor embraced statesmanship. The young people who powered him to victory had no interest in history lessons. Second, on winning the presidency in 2015, Buhari arrived accompanied by a long memory bearing grudges from a lifetime of slights. Characteristically, his diagnosis of what ailed Nigeria had hardly changed from his last time in the position, even if in his framing the problem had changed name. This time, he could not fall back on the regimental structure of the military, and Tunde Indiagbo had died over 15 years before. To capture power, he had made deals with politicians of exactly the kind whom he would have sent to the firing squad on his first tour of duty. So, he sacrificed any hopes of progress on a single program of eliminating corruption long before the votes were even counted. Third, many of Buhari's critics describe him as clueless, an adjective that falls into the error of underestimating him. Buhari is capable of being acutely focused, but only on things that matter to him. In 2015, only two things mattered: becoming president and, on getting there, preventing a repeat of August 27, 1985. As in 1984, Buhari arrived incapable of formulating governance in terms of an affirmative proposition. He defines himself with reference to what he is not or what he is against. When the youths did #EndSARS, all he could see was young people that wanted to march here and remove me. His response was a history lesson. He asked soldiers to shoot them. Godwin Alabi Isama, the son of Igbo Christian father from Delta and a Yoruba Muslim mother from Kwara, whose tour of the North in 1961 persuaded Buhari's generation of Northern students to join the army, titled his account of the Nigerian Civil War, "The Tragedy of Victory." This could easily describe the life of Muhammadu Buhari at the most rarefied levels of political leadership. Anyone who can achieve the leadership of his country not once but twice, first as soldier and then as civilian, is far from dumb or clueless. But leadership at the highest levels requires not just asceticism and discipline. It is also about coalition building and judgment behind affirmative propositions. Buhari has the former, but lacks the latter. He is governed in visceral vernacular by his grudges, which make him a compelling psychodrama of a candidate, but those do not translate into a governance program, which makes him a vacuous leader. If Buhari's second coming were to be summed up, it will be about the harsh, intolerable conditions under which we are now living. Our economy has been hopelessly mismanaged. We have become a debtor and beggar nation. There is inadequacy of food at reasonable prices for our people. Health services are in shambles as our hospitals are reduced to mere consulting clinics without drugs, water and equipment. These are exactly the reasons for which he overthrew Shagari at the end of 1983. We will never know what could have happened if the man had been willing to forego his grudges. That's the news, guys. Thanks for listening. Until next time, bye.